Today we're talking about the difference between knowing and understanding. And I think you can know the truth in a way only if you surrender to the concept that you aren't going to actually be able to understand fully. It's sort of like when I wanted to become someone important when I was a teenager, young adult, wanted to be the president of the United States, or I wanted to be an airline pilot, or I wanted to be any number of other things I thought were cool at the time. And really what I wanted wasn't to be any of those specific things. What I wanted was that vibe that I got from immersing myself in what those things represented, right? So, I would have thought, well, I like to go to the airport. I like to go on an adventure. I like to fly places. So, of course, I'd love to be an airline pilot. But is it really fun to be an airline pilot, or is it just a lot to learn, a lot to master, and then a job that's actually remarkably boring because you're just sitting in a chair? Or maybe I wanted to be a truck driver because I thought it would be so cool to be on the open road and explore America or whatever. But do I really want to be a truck driver? Well, I don't know. I mean, it might be fun, but it's a lot of sitting there in the cab of a truck and not being able to just really do whatever you want because you're under time constraints and you're maybe not able to eat as healthy as you want. You're not able to just pull over wherever you want. You can't get home all the time. There's a lot of drawbacks. I'm not saying the job couldn't be fun, but that through rose-shaded glasses look at it just makes you feel like it's so amazing and there's this romance of the open road. But if you ask somebody who actually does that job for a living, what is it like? Well, it's a whole lot less glamorous. Or maybe, you want to be somebody like Elvis Presley. You want to be a celebrity. That's fine, but is it really so much fun to be a person who's so popular that you can't even just go get a cup of coffee without people mobbing you on the street? So do the celebrities really have it that good? Because maybe they make a lot of money, but they feel like they have to hide behind high walls and they can't go anywhere because they're constantly under siege. Or you're a politician. Maybe you think, well, man, if I was the president of the United States, just think of all the things I could do. But then what's the reality of that? The reality is you have a lot of other special interests that are playing a role in your career, and you have people watching everything you do and scrutinizing everything you say. So having all of that power comes at a huge cost of your personal sense of freedom, your sense of autonomy and things like that. So you kind of need to not be tied down to any one thing if you want to truly appreciate what the romance of it is all about. If you really want to love something in that sort of a optimistic way, you kind of can't get too close to it. You kind of have to have that high level approach where you're admiring it from a distance. It's like looking out across the field and there's a bear out there, or there's a moose out there or something, and you're like, wow, that's so beautiful, and that's great. But that doesn't mean that you want it in your living room. It doesn't mean that you want to go up and hang out right next to it, because if you go up there and you mess with that bear, it might just end your life. So do you really want to say, oh, I want to immerse myself in that experience? Or is it maybe better to say, well, I will enjoy that from a distance and I will really love it for what it is, but that doesn't mean that I need to get as close to it as possible. Now, when it comes to having a sense of knowledge, you can know the truth. You can know the truth in the sense that you understand the general premise of truth. For example, you can understand that all things work together for good in a harmonious universe. That doesn't mean that you have to understand every single nuance of science or all the mechanics of how everything in the universe works. We can't understand everything. We can't understand all of the science and all of the fact that guides and controls this amazing, complex mechanism which is the world and our lives. But we can know that at the core of it, it makes sense because there's evidence of order all around us. We live in an orderly universe. Even if it seems like it's filled with a lot of chaos and calamity, it's still an orderly universe. It's governed by rules and laws that keep it all functioning. So, can you have peace while also acknowledging that the world is filled with chaos? Can you have a sense of freedom while also understanding that the world is filled with constraints? Can you take a strong position on something while also acknowledging that other perspectives have equal validity too? When you surrender the need to be in control, it helps so much with having a sense of not being out of control. When you accept the fact that you don't have to try to live forever, it oddly helps you do a better job of making the most of the life that you have today. When you don't feel like you have to have an answer, a response to every single thing, you get better at listening and at actually having a spirit of wisdom that guides you through your day-to-day life and your interactions with other people. Having a light grasp on life is often the best way to have a firm grasp on who you are. I remember my first vehicle was a 1980 Ford pickup truck, an F-250, I believe, and it was a pretty garbagey vehicle, but the thing I remember the most, well, one of the things I remember the most about it was that if you hit the gas and you put the pedal all the way down to the floor, it just didn't really accelerate very well. But if you kind of feathered it, you just gave it a little bit of gas, then it would accelerate faster. And I don't know why exactly that is. I'm sure there's people who know about cars that would know why that is, but I don't. All I know is that it's a good analogy of life. If you are trying to push that pedal all the way down to the floor because you want to go as fast as you can, well, sometimes you're better off just letting off the gas a little bit and finding that sweet spot where you can maybe not be completely ignorant, hopefully, but you can also be interested in trying to prove everything. There are a lot of people who feel like they need to have an answer for everything. They've got to be an expert at everything. And, you know, it gets tiresome, doesn't it? When people feel like they have to be an expert, like they can't just shut up and say, I don't know. And there's a lot of them like that. They're just sort of, it's like they're addicted to being, you know, to having a response. That's really what it is. People listen to respond instead of actually trying to just absorb what's going on around them. I think the best thing we could probably do is to have the attitude of today is perfect exactly as it is. If we were going to have an attitude of prayer, we should give thanks for the life we have. We should give thanks for the day we have. Not to say, and I hope it gets better in the future, and I hope that things go my way down the road and around the corner. Not to say, I hope that I can somehow lead myself in a better direction, or I hope I can figure out the puzzle so I can get to the next level. But rather to have a bit more of a sense that life is perfect as it is, today is perfect as it is, the world is perfect as it is. And so I'm going to meditate a bit on giving thanks, not giving thanks so that I can then say what I want, but giving thanks so that I can remind myself that I already have everything that I need. When you realize that, then gratitude becomes a lot easier, wisdom becomes a lot easier, patience becomes a lot easier. Realizing it's not about discovering some great secret that you fully understand, it's just about accepting a truth that in a way you've always known. Like we all know that the world is a fair and balanced place. We all know that life and death are part of a balance that's supposed to be there. We all understand that nothing's supposed to last forever. We all understand that you can't have darkness without light. These are not things that we don't understand. These are just things that we tend to try to come up with very complex explanations to avoid facing. But if you accept those things, then life just gets easier, doesn't it? It gets easier when you wake up in the morning and you're not thinking to yourself, you know, I wish my life was less broken. I wish my job sucked less. I wish, you know, all these things are different in my life. Isn't it better? Just get up every day and say, you know, I'm glad that my life is the way it's supposed to be already. You go to bed at the end of the day and you don't have this sense of, you know, I hope that I manage to get all these other things done I want to accomplish in my life. You just say, I'm glad that my life already is accomplished as it is. I'm glad that I have the life that I have. I'm glad that I am already blessed. I'm glad for all the things that I have to be thankful for. And then you become, I guess, a more selfless person as time goes on. Sometimes the universe rewards that kind of thing, I think. When you stop trying so hard to get ahead, you stop worrying so much about whether your life's gonna amount to what you want it to, then interestingly, you wind up sometimes getting your way more than you would expect. Someone once said that the key to being rich is to have fewer desires. And I think that that's quite true. Sometimes the key to being wise is to trust your judgment and your discretion, but to stop trying to know everything. Because I think there's a lot of very foolish people in the world that want to know everything. They're good at knowing facts. They have some sort of a factual rebuttal to everything. They know every line of the rule book, but they don't know the spirit of truth. So maybe it's not so much about being the master of something. It's about learning how to have a good experience every single day. To live as a person who feels that life is filled with amazing things and beautiful things, instead of always feeling like it's not good enough. That's the trick. That's the trick, because life's too short for us to be feeling like we don't know enough, we haven't reached far enough, and we need to be more than what we are. Being what we are is enough. So just be yourself, whatever that is. Have your convictions, have your opinions, be open to truth in whatever form it takes, but don't expect that you need to know everything. It's enough to be just a small part of a cohesive world in which you are at peace. So, till next time, as always, good luck on your adventure, and thanks so much for watching.